Hello, welcome back. In the last video, we managed to get a cool internal messaging system thing going from the customer's end, okay? But I left you with a little cliffhanger, and I was saying that there's actually something not right about this form, and can you guess what it is? Now, I suppose you could say that it's kind of crummy that the form takes up the whole page. I'm not too sure if that looks good, okay? So, well, that's a valid point. So we could go to get bootstrap to the grid system thing here, and we could copy some code here, like so. And if we go into this create file, let me just close these things to the right here. We could jump in here, probably do something like that, and we've got this call MD8 thing going on here, right? So we could do that, jump down here, close off our divs, and if we do something like that, let's see, I'll try and space it out neatly, then now the form does not take up the whole page, and I would argue that that's maybe a bit more nice on the old eyeballs, But there's actually a much more serious flaw than that's going on with this form, and this is very subtle. In fact, it was only after running a discussion forum and a comments thing on the Insider Club that I noticed this problem. And here is the problem, right? A lot of people, when they're composing messages, whether it be a contact form or a forum or even a comment section, a lot of people take ages filling these things out, And there's lots of people who are very meticulous and they want to check the spelling and make sure everything's perfect. And that's just life, Some people are like that, okay? Now, if somebody has logged in with a session login, not a cookie login, right? Then typically the server will remember who that person is for up to 10 minutes of inactivity, okay? Now you can tweak the server and stuff, but typically it's 10 minutes. So that means that if somebody comes into this page and let's say they write out some really long message, okay, and they say hello and they type it all out and they've spent ages and ages and ages, okay, if this person has not been active and they've been typing this message, so they've not been refreshing pages or anything, well, when they hit submit, well, it didn't work that time because I have been active, but if they hit submit after a long period of inactivity, it's going to just kick them out and it will send them straight back to the login page, or wherever it goes when it kicks them out, okay? And that's a mistake, or at least I don't think it's very cool, So the question is, what do you want to do if somebody comes in here, fills out, and then spends ages typing something? Maybe they take 15 minutes, and if they hit submit and the session has expired, what are you going to? Are you going to just kick them out? Well, to me that's kind of harsh. By all means, I think that we should force them to log in again. I think that's fair enough, right? But I'm of the opinion that it would be kind of graceful to just send the message anyway. Just send it anyway, okay? And let's not force them to just retype everything. I mean, who knows? Maybe it means a lot to them, okay? So we need to find a way of doing that gracefully and, if we can, reasonably securely. So what I'm going to propose is that we invent our own custom token system. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. However, just before we start, let me do a little PHP timeout, okay? I would like you to open up your account, okay, the your account controller. And we'll make up a function called test, okay? and we'll say name equals, and just add your name in, okay? And then we're going to load up site security, okay? And on site security, you'll remember that we've got a thing that is going to hash a string, okay? So what I'm going to say is hashed name equals this site security hash string, and we're going to do that to name, okay? So now we can just say name is name, and then down here we can just say echo hash name, okay? Pretty simple. And if we run this thing, so I'm going to go to your account /test. Okay, if we run this, no surprises, we can see that the hash is cool and everything is fine, right? Now if you hit refresh here, you'll notice a couple of interesting things. The first handful of characters don't change. They all start with $2Y, $11 and all that, right? And there's reasons for that I'm not going to go into, okay? But you'll notice that the end of the thing always changes, okay? It's always different every time we hash the string, okay? So that's kind of interesting. Now here's my little PHP aside, or my little timeout, if you prefer to call it that. We can find out, like, you know how when you get a bank statement or something like that, maybe not a bank statement, yeah, maybe if your bank sends an email, for example, and it's sending a reminder of your account number or your credit card, you'll notice that it only shows the last 4 characters, right? That's all it shows, right? And obviously it's doing that for security reasons. It doesn't want to reveal the full account number or credit card number, right? Well, we can use PHP to do exactly the same kind of thing. It's very easy. You've probably seen this before, okay? But let's say I was going to get the last, shall we do the last 4 digits? In fact, let's do the last 6, okay? The last 6 characters from this hash name. Well, how would we do that, okay? Well, actually, the first thing that we'd need to do is find out the length of the hash name, okay? So if we say hash name length equals, and then we've got string length hash name, okay? So we now know the length of the hash name, okay? So that's kind of cool. And then we can say start point equals the hashed name length minus 6, okay? And if we want the last 6 characters, there's a little PHP function which is this substring thing here, and we pass in the hashed name like that, and then we add a start point. So in our case, the start point is going to be that start point, and we want 6 characters after the start point, okay? Now some people write this like this, and that's fine, and some people squash it all together. It doesn't matter at all. But if we do that, we can echo out the last 6 characters. If I hit refresh here, do you see how it's giving us the last 6 characters from this hashed string, okay? So that is pretty cool. And that's something that's going to come in handy, okay? So keep that in your mind, remember that, it's going to be super cool. Now, there's another thing that I want to have a look at. I want to have a look at store accounts, okay? Let's have a look here. It's been a long time and I just want to see how this was made. So we've got username, last name, company, date made, p-word. Right, let's add a brand new column onto this after password, okay? And we'll call this new column last login. And it's going to be an integer and it's all cool. So we'll just say save, right? So now we have last login, okay? And the vibe is something like this. If we go to the shop here and we go to login, right, we've got this your account thing going on, okay? And if we inspect this form, you may remember that it goes to, let me have a look here, it goes to your account /submit login, right? So this is where it goes, and it figures out what's going on and all of that stuff. And then if they pass, it runs this thing called in you go, in you go. So what I'm going to do now is just when they're about to log in, okay, in fact I could do it up here if I wanted. Shall we do this up here? I'm not too sure. Let's just do this. Let me just see. Yeah, we'll just do it up here actually. Let's just do it up here, okay? So I'm going to just say data last_login equals time, okay? So it's going to be a timestamp, and then I'm just going to say this store accounts update, and what we're going to update, it's going to be the user ID, and we're going to update that variable of last login, and we're going to set it to time, okay? So I'm looking up, that should be good. So check this out. If someone now logs in, Rambo pass, okay, and they log in, and if we now look at the database here, the store accounts database, you'll see that we've now got a timestamp on last login, okay? So this is interesting because that last login, remember, is a moving target. It will change every time that person logs in. So what we can now do is, when we can build a thing so that when a customer goes to this page here, and if they start building a message and they take ages and ages and ages, and the system basically forgets who the person is, right? The session has expired. Well, check this out. We can generate a little custom token, and we can give it to them on this page, include it in the form as a hidden variable. And when that form gets submitted, we're going to check the token. If the session has expired, we'll check the token. And if the token is cool, we'll send the message. Okay, that's the idea. It's really simple, and it'll be much clearer when you see this, okay? So follow along, this is going to be quite easy. Let's open up your account, okay? And I'm sorry, let's open up store accounts, okay? And we're going to make two functions up. The first function is going to be generate token, and it's going to do that with an update ID, okay? And the next function we're going to do is going to be get customer ID from token, and it's going to accept a token, and it's going to figure out the customer ID from this token, okay? That's the vibe. So let's see if we can build this. The first thing we're going to do is very, very simple. I'm just going to say data is this, fetch data from DB for this customer. Now, when we're doing fetch data from DB, remember, we now have a brand new column in here called last login. Okay, so last login is row last login. And on this fetch data from DB, we're going to have date made equals data date made. That's obviously the date when the account was created. It's a Unix timestamp, okay? And then we're going to have last login. I'm going alphabetical here. Okay, so last login is that, and then we've got p word is that. Remember that the p word is hashed, right? So we've now got that information. That's kind of cool. And do you remember on your account we were doing this thing with the substrings and whatnot, right? We can do the same thing here. So we can say, for example, this hash name length thing, we'll change that to p-word length, okay? And where we've got hash name, we'll change that to b-word, okay? So the idea is that when we do that, we now have the last 6 characters from the password, okay? That's the vibe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little token using the date made, the last login, and these last 6 characters, okay? Now, just as a little side note here, there is a hypothetical possibility, if you look at store accounts, hypothetical that someone might have an account but no password. Do you see how the password's empty? This is possible. Maybe they could bail out or something could happen. So if they have not set a password, and as a matter of fact, if they've not logged in, tough luck. I'm not going to give them a token, okay? But if they do have a password and they've logged in and all that, well, that's kind of cool. So here's how we'll do that. We'll say if p word length is greater than 5, now it definitely should be, okay? So if the password length is greater than 5 and the last login is greater than 0, okay? If that's the vibe, then the token is going to be the last 6 characters joined on to date made and joined on to last login. Congratulations, we've now created a token, okay? Now, if that's not the case, we'll just say token is empty. Tough luck. That's all they're going to get, okay? And then we just return token, right? That's it. We've just generated a nice little token. So, that's the code for generate token. I'll leave the screen there for a couple of seconds in case you need that. Okay, so now I'm going to do get customer ID from token. So the way that works is pretty much all down to this substring thing again. Okay, so we're just going to be using this all over the place actually. I'm going to say that the last 6 characters is a substring from token. And the start point is 0, and it's going to take 6 characters. We now have the last 6 characters, okay? Last 6 from p-word, okay? Or from stored p-word. Remember, it's hashed, right? Okay. Next, we are going to figure out when the date made is, and again, that's going to be exactly the same vibe here. The only difference is that the start point is going to be 6, I think, and it's going to be 10 characters for a Unix timestamp, okay? Now let me just test that actually before I get carried away here. So I'm going to say a little function up here, I'll call it test. I'll say update ID equals 1, and we'll say, let's do generate token, right? So we'll do that, and we'll just say that token is this generate token, and I'm going to echo that token onto the page, okay? So if we go to store accounts /test, there's the token, right? Looks kind of good, okay? So now I'm going to do a horizontal line thing, and I'm going to run this figure get customer ID from token thing. Okay, so it goes something like that, and if we run this, you'll see that this is the date made. Okay, so everything's looking kind of good here. The last thing that we need is the last login. So in the case of the last login, the start point is 16. I should change that to say last login. And we can echo out that last login. And if this works, it should start with 14, right? And there you go. So that's a Unix timestamp showing us the last login, okay? Now, if somebody out there can tell me the last 6 characters of the hashed password, a Unix timestamp when they last logged in, and a Unix timestamp when the account was made, of course, and they can give me that information, then I am satisfied. Okay, that's good enough. I'm going to let them submit the message. Now, they'll still have to log in afterwards, but at least they won't have to type out the message. That would be so uncool if we forced them to type the message. So we've got these 3 pieces of information. Now we're going to figure out the customer ID. We're going to do a database query, okay? Remember, folks, this is going to be used for a customer who does not have a valid session ID. It's expired. We don't know if this is somebody we can trust or anything. We need to be careful. So I'm going to use query binding, right? This is the Codeigniter user guide. Do you remember query binding? Here it is, okay? And we're going to use query binding to figure out who the customer is, okay? So query binding looks something like this. We're going to say the word query in here. And the query is going to be select all from store accounts where date made is that, and p word, and it's not going to be equals, it's going to be like that, okay, and last login is that, okay, and the things that we're going to pass into the array will be date made, and then we're going to pass in the last 6 characters, and finally we're going to pass in the last login. Now somebody's screaming at the screen just now saying, well, hang on, it's a like statement, and how does that stuff work? Stay cool. Simple SQL, folks. If it's a like, the vibe is we don't care what's at the start, so we do a question mark, but we do care what's on the end. So we're checking with that last 6 characters, okay? And just to show you that this works actually, just to show you that everything is cool, I'm going to hit refresh here, and that's the query, okay? Looks pretty good to me. And all we have to do now is get the customer ID from this. So for each query, loading up result as row, I'm just going to say customer ID is row ID. If not is set customer ID, then customer ID equals 0. Okay. And we'll return the customer ID. Okay, so congratulations. We now have a couple of functions. One of them generates a token, and the other one turns a token into a customer ID. If I hit refresh, you'll see that we have the number 1 here. That is the customer ID. Everything is cool, and I am happy, okay? As a matter of fact, we can delete this test thing. We don't need it anymore, okay? So that's kind of cool. And whilst we're deleting stuff, we might as well delete this test from your account as well, okay? Right, excellent. So, how does this all work? Well, if you open up your messages, right, we're going to have to do a few minor little tweaks, but relax, everything's going to be fine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out here, and I'm going to say sent by is customer ID, okay? And the customer ID is something that I think we might as well figure out right at the top here. Okay, so the customer ID is site security get user ID, right? We've loaded up site security, so we should now know the customer ID as we go through this page, okay? And the vibe is something like this. I'm going to load up the store accounts module. Okay, so I'm loading up store accounts, and then just before the page loads, way down here, I'm going to say data token equals this, store accounts, and then I'm going to say generate token. Okay? So right before that page loads, we're generating a token for this customer, the customer ID. Okay? Now, we probably could make sure that the person's logged in at this point. I don't want to run make sure logged in at the top of the script. Kind of unusually, I'm going to do that near the bottom of the script, just before the page loads actually. So if you open up site security, we've got this make sure logged in thing, okay? So what I'm saying is, just before that page loads up, let's just make sure that the person is logged in, okay? However, if we go back upstairs here, we've loaded up some stuff, but if they hit submit, it's cool. They don't even need to be logged in. It's fine, relax, everything is cool. But what we are going to do is a little check here, okay? And the check goes like this. It's a double condition. And the check is, if not is numeric customer ID, or the customer ID is equivalent to 0. In those scenarios, we've loaded up store accounts, right? So we're going to say customer ID is, and we're going to go to store accounts, get customer ID from token. Okay, and that's on store accounts. Now, I'm not going to add token to fetch data from post because I don't want to mess up the insert statement. So I'm just going to say token is this input post token true. Okay, and it's now attempting to get the customer ID from the token, right? So if that customer is taking ages, if it's expired, doesn't matter, we're still going to give them a chance to submit the message, and I think that is awesome. All right, and now I'm going to do a thing probably right before the insert. Actually, I'm just going to say if customer ID is greater than 0, then we're going to do the insert and the flash data stuff, okay? So if the customer ID is 0, we've figured out the customer ID either from the session, the cookie, or the token. That's cool, we'll do the insert. Otherwise, we're going to divert them, okay? However, there's just one more thing before this is all finished, right? Now think about this, just before we go. If the customer submits, now hopefully this will never even fire. This is an emergency fallback, right? But if this thing does fire and it sends the message, which is kind of nice, what's going to happen next? Well, it's going to go to your account, it's going to go to welcome, and it's going to kick them out. Do you see that? Because it's going to run this make sure logged in thing. So that's kind of uncool because they won't know, they will not know that the message has been sent. So here's what we'll do, right? Let's say, if not is numeric customer ID, blah, 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 figure out the customer ID. And then we'll do a thing that says something like not logged in equals true. I've set a little variable here, right? And just before we do this redirect, I'm going to say if is set not logged in. Then I'm just going to redirect. Actually, if not is set, what I'll do is I'll say, making this up as I go along, I'll say that the target URL is base URL, and we'll make it your messages / I don't know, message sent, let's say. Okay, so if they are not logged in, that's where they're going to go. But if they are logged in, then the target URL is going to be your account /welcome. Okay, and then on this redirect here, we just chuck in the target URL. So I'm going to now build your messages message sent. Okay, it's going to be pretty simple. Basically, it will just bring up a template, something like this, and we'll say function message sent, like that. Okay, and I'll add in a nice headline that says message sent. A view file, message sent, I'll do again. We really don't even need any flash data, right? And I'm going to go to your messages. Oh, Jiminy. Your messages / message sent, okay? And we'll make a view file up in your messages that's called message sent.php. We'll chuck the h1 tag in with a headline, and we'll just say your message has been successfully sent. Thank you. I don't know, anything you want, right? So that's a nice page. Do you agree? That's nicer than just kicking them out. All right. So, you know, if something goes wrong, we send it anyway. We send them to this nice page. I think that's very cool. Okay. And you'll notice that there's no security here. Everything's fine. You know, if they try and go back to, whoops, that's the last video. If they try and go back to, you know, your orders or something, yes, they will have to log in, but at least we've given them that nice little message, okay? So let me just quickly check the code visually at least. I'll make sure everything's okay. So when they run this submit, figures out the customer ID, and if it passes validation and the customer has logged out, okay, so, you know, if the session has expired, let's say, or potentially, hypothetically, the cookie, that's unlikely, but if it does that, it tries to get the customer ID from a token. We're adding in a code, that's good. We're inserting, and if is set, not logged in, then it's going to go to your messages sent. Not logged in only kicks in if we had to call upon the token. Otherwise, it goes to your account welcome. Folks, this is awesome. I don't even have any notes, but I just know that this is all going to work. I have a good feeling about this. So I'll just do one message to test this. All is well. Here we go. And we'll do submit your message. Message was successfully sent, and everything is super, super cool, okay? And just to show you the source code here, you'll see that we do indeed. Oh, I'm so glad I checked that. Just as I was about to finish, I've not added the token onto the page. Congratulations. This was the deliberate mistake of the day. Man, here we go. What a crazy mistake to make. Form hidden token. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this again. Do you see it in the source code here? That's the token. Everything is cool, right? Everything is cool. We'll do this again. Subject, rock and roll. Here we go. I'll say urgent, send. Everything looks good. And then let's have a look at the admin. Okay, we'll have a look at inquiries inbox. Okay, so that all looks very good indeed. Obviously, I don't have any notes. This is just a tutorial, and you know the vibe, mistakes can happen. So if I was going to do this live, I would spend probably a good 15-20 minutes testing everything. But I think the general principle is cool, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.